The usual. What about you?
The usual. That was kind of weird because it's like I asked what's happening, and it kind of went. Dave started to speak, and then it all held. And then he said the usual kind of thing. After a couple of minutes, oh, you got a new mug?
No, it's an old one.
No,
it's been around forever. It's the one I use every morning.
Okay, maybe I just saw a different picture of it.
The Mickey Mouse one. It's yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Well, somebody gave me that. I don't know why they gave it to me, but it's I'm not especially endeared to Mickey Mouse or anything like that, but I don't know. Some people think it's a good thing, and all I know is it's a bucket. And that's what I want in the morning, a bucket of coffee. That's the biggest mug I got. So otherwise I wouldn't be using it.
Well, okay. Welcome everybody, and good morning, Niagara. Good morning, everybody. And okay, so I don't know how to pronounce this word, but Niagara Region celebrates 150 years at the Decew Water Treatment Plant in St. Catharines.
Well, that goes
Being
back.
Decew, I don't know how you pronounce. Sorry? Decew.
It's
okay,
Decew.
there you go. Decew. All right, there you go. See, I told you I didn't know how to pronounce it. It just doesn't. Decew would have a Q in there.
Yeah, well, it's the English language. It doesn't really make much sense a lot of the times. So you find, it kind of the Q, CEU, CEW could be Q, EU, EW, the C, Q, the D, the Q. Probably, I don't know. One time it may have had a different pronunciation. It's like when I went to Peterborough, and there's a street called Monaghan. So I kept talking about this Monaghan Street. Nobody knows what I was talking about because everybody there calls it Monaghan. They use a anglified version of the Irish name Monaghan. So it's actually Monaghan, but everybody there calls it Monaghan.
Weird. Yeah. And my borough both in Canada and in England are weird.
What's that?
My borough, Peterborough, both in England and here in Ontario, is a weird place to go.
Yeah.
Nice to collect the tax from them, though, for having my name.
Yeah. Peterborough, yeah. Well, all these, I guess it's changed quite a bit. I lived there for about a year.
Yeah. Anyway, so this water treatment plant's 150 years old. It started in 1875. So now on Saturday, 13th of June, 2026, it's now officially 150 years old. There you go. And
so you can imagine.
Yeah, 2700 Decew Road, and St. Catharines. And they've got 11 a.m. They're starting a tours and things around the plant, guided walking tour, 11 a.m., 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. Spaces are limited. You can register beforehand. And
so
I don't think there's a charge.
Does this happen all year round? Like this article was submitted like a week and a half ago. So
this is this Saturday.
This Saturday coming up. Okay.
Yeah. It's upcoming this Saturday. It's a once-off affair to celebrate the 150th anniversary. You'd actually think they would do more tours of this kind of nature, right?
I don't know. I don't know how much public interest is in it.
Yeah.
Here, 150 years is a big deal around this area because 200 years ago there were very few people here.
Oh yeah.
even though we on this side of the river, it was more settled. But after the War of 1812, this side of the river was devastated.
Mm.
It had much more people than the east side of the river at the time because of the United Empire loyalists. So it was more populated, but the whole area got devastated because of the war. It took many years to build that back up. So to have something built 50 years, sort of 60 or some years after the War of 1812 like this was probably quite an achievement back in those days.
Yeah.
It took 30 years. It took 30 years before this side of the river was back to where it was at the beginning of the War of 1812. It took after the end of the War of 1812, it took a good 30 years to bring it back to where it was. That's like that. That's part of the war we never get hear of. Niagara Lake got destroyed. Fort Erie got destroyed. Port Dover got destroyed. Toronto got raided 3 different times. They got attacked and burned down the first time and got attacked. Now, of course, that was revenged by the burning down of Washington, but it took a long time. But anyway, that's just an aside. Anyway, so something like Decew Falls coming up in 1875 was probably a major event and a step forward after a long recovery period from that war.
Yeah. Well, and actually, you think about it at that point, by the time we get to 1875, we're talking something like the current population, a lot less, but, more. These areas and other areas are becoming major population centers.
Yeah, they're starting. Remember, there are work projects beginning. You started getting the canal going, and then the first canal, second canal, third canal.
Yeah,
that kind of thing is beginning along. Rail lines are beginning. Power stations are beginning. So
absolutely.
So so the area is growing and requires the water. But anyway, what else we got? So
all right, ma'am, absolutely. So Google is going to release something in the region. Millions of specially treated mosquitoes across California and Florida. The hope is that they will counter West Nile and other viruses.
Yes. This is what they do now for a lot of, try to reduce the amount of mosquitoes in an area. What they do is they engineer male mosquitoes so that they're pretty much sterile. In other words, not sterile. They still go out and try to fertilize eggs, but they can't. It doesn't work. So what happens is they mate with the females, and the eggs don't. The eggs are laid, but they do not develop. And what this does is reduces the amount of mosquitoes.
And it reduces the amount of West Nile virus and St. Louis encephalitis.
Yeah. So this is this is a very effective way of controlling bugs like this, and a lot of areas are thinking of that same procedure. Take a bunch of male mosquitoes that cannot reproduce, or at least everybody thinks they're reproducing in the mosquito world, but they're not. The eggs won't mature. So what you have is much reduced amounts of mosquitoes, and when that happens, you have, of course, less West Nile virus, etc. In a place like Florida, you want a lot of tourists too, and you want to make sure that you can, assure people they're not going to get bit all the time. But it's probably more for health reasons. I should bring in right now the screwworm. The screwworm is coming into the United States now. It's a flesh-eating worm. It's usually stopped in the Darien Gap by a procedure combined with Mexico and U.S. I think maybe even Canada is involved in it. And they do the same thing. They release into the Darien Gap thousands of male screwworms um, that 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 are infertile, basically, and that reduces the amount of screwworms that will make their way into the United States. Well, what's happened now is the U.S. has reduced its commitment to that. And what's happened, of course, is the screwworm has now made it into Texas, and it is attacking U.S. cattle. So much so that the Canadian cattle ranchers will not accept any cattle coming from Texas, and probably won't take any from other places in the United States if the screwworm continues to grow. This is probably a direct result of the fact that there was cutbacks, the Doge cutbacks, cut back a lot of the agency around this, where they employed a lot of scientists to slow down screwworm sort of reproduction. Right there, and the Darien Gap is the place where they catch it, because screwworm comes out of South America, so that's where they stop it from moving on. But it's broken through there, got into Mexico, and then got into the United States. It has been warned about for some time, but of course, the current administration is blaming the previous administration. It's all their fault. It's their fault. Although they themselves knew that this was a problem.
And the trouble is, it's like shutting. I know that doesn't necessarily affect this, but shutting down the CDC, for example, hasn't exactly helped.
Well, the CDC is not that. You're looking at that's the CDC.
No, I know that's human-borne diseases, but I'm just saying it's along the same kind of lines, is what I'm saying.
Well, yeah. So basically, what we just reported on was happening in Florida now, where they take male mosquitoes that are incapable of reproducing. In other words, they think they are, but it is not. They fertilize the eggs, but the eggs aren't really fertilized, and they never develop. This is the same thing they do in the Darien Gap. The Darien Gap is that little piece of Panama that's attached to South America. It's the dense and incredibly intransversible area in South America, in Panama, from the tip of Panama that attaches to South America for several, maybe 100 or so kilometers, a couple hundred kilometers there. And that is the area which they stop the screwworm, because it has to go land based. So that's where they plant the infertile screwworm males, and they have a plane. Actually, I think I've seen where they take a plane and they drop them from the plane, thousands and thousands of these screwworms that cannot reproduce, and that stops or slows down the production of screwworms in a big way. However, once it breaks through Central America, then it's much harder to hold it back and to fight it. Once it starts getting into the cattle, that's what happens. Now, of course, the current administration is quite happy to blame the previous administration, as they do for everything. It's impossible in the United States. Each side of the same coin, which is the American government, the two-sided coin, the uniparty, right, constantly point to the other side of the aisle and blame them for everything that ever happened on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
No, you did it. You did it. No, you did it. No, you did it. You did this. You did that. Instead of trying to find out what the heck's really going on, and I would talk to the American politicians and just get to it, because you got to stop that screwworm from coming. It can devastate cattle, and we don't want it up here either. Once it's implanted in the cattle, it's very, very hard to get rid of it. It's a flesh eating worm. It does terrible damage to cattle. So the thing the thing that they are utilizing in Florida right now, the method by which to reduce West Nile virus by reducing the amount of mosquitoes, is the very same sort of approach that they used in the Darien Gap. And I think a lot of that has to be slowed down because of government policy.
Yeah.
I heard warning of this several times over the space of the last few years about the funding for these things. So the current administration might not be totally wrong when they attribute some of the blame to the previous administration, but this is something that I think Mexico and Central America and all of them continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't blame, the thing is, I don't want to blame anybody particularly. I just seen this anti-science stance of the current Trump administration.
Well, yeah, they're just pointing the finger of blame to the previous administration. But in this case, they might not be completely wrong here, because I've been reading about the possible screwworm infestation long before Trump got in. So there has already been worries and red flags up. But of course, the Democrats are going to be pointing at the Trump administration. See all those Doge cuts, and that's probably partly responsible because they cut stuff that they didn't know what they were doing. Elon Musk, like he didn't understand a lot of what he was cutting, and that interfered with a lot of.
Hey, you just blinked an eye. Your program's cut, mate.
Yeah, what's this about? Screwworms? Oh, screw you! I don't want any of those screwworms. That kind of thing. But on the other hand, it was a problem before this administration came in, so they can point at each other all they want. I'm just telling them, like why don't you just get at it and solve the problem?
Yeah.
You can play the blame game later, and that's up for and who is to blame anyway? It's ignorance on the part of the politicians, I think. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Niagara Parks is hoping for a surge in domestic and international travel now that they've averted the strike. Will they get it?
Yeah. Now the strike, like they came up with a deal. It's a terrible deal. It's I think it's 2.5 and 2.24 and then 2% over the next 3 years. It doesn't even come even close. Doesn't even come close to the inflation rate. It was a fear factor. There was a lot of complaints about this. 2/3 of the people voted for it. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that work at the parks that use it just for part-time money. So they're not too interested in walking off the job. That's not their whole income. So it was the fear factor basically. As people were afraid to lose their jobs or afraid of what would happen if they went on strike. This business that the employees did not want to go on strike when there was during tourist season. That's exactly when they should have gone on strike. Like I've been part of the union myself many years, and this would be the perfect time. Within a week, if you went and started picketing Table Rock, within a week you would have had a much better deal.
And by the way, just to reply to this comment, just join this United States Niagara or Canadian Niagara. Yeah, we're coming from Canadian Niagara, but we take people from all parts of the world, Kenny? I think it's Kenny. Yeah. Kenny the Dragon.
Yeah, we're on the west side of the river of the Niagara River. Got friends of the Falls, been hoping to visit again soon. Last I went to Clifton Hill. It was a ghost town. It's pretty busy now, Kenny. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, anyway, yeah. Ghost town, it was probably during COVID. That was a real ghost town.
Oh, okay. Okay, Kenny.
Yeah. All right. Well, welcome. We're always glad to have you here anyway. So now the strike's averted. They're hoping for a boost in international travel, particularly coming with the World Cup.
Yeah, they hope so. This is where the Niagara bargaining unit, in my opinion, failed completely. This was the time to push for better wages. The deal they came up with doesn't even match inflation. So in the 3 years of this contract, the Niagara Parks employees will be further behind. Their standard of living will be reduced because their wages do not even match the inflation we've had, not even come close. Yeah. So what they're doing is they're putting a lot of, this is a bad deal. I would have never gone for this deal, particularly with the World Cup coming in, and this was the time to walk out. This was the time to really put the heat on Niagara Square, or on the Niagara Parks and the Ontario government. Everything was in their favor, but they kind of chickened out. And as far as the membership voting 2/3 for it, it's the fear factor. That's what they use. Like, it's just the same kind of fear factor the casinos use. Anytime somebody comes up and say, well, let's unionize the casino gives everybody a bonus and then starts telling you stories about what can happen in a union. You could lose your job. You may never work again. And all this kind of stuff. They start that business. It makes people afraid. And once you have people afraid, you've got them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, anyway, but, so basically they're saying the workers didn't want to affect the tourist season, so they accepted a bad deal. Well,
that's wrong. Really that's wrong. The people, of course, they didn't want to affect the tourist season for a long period of time, but they should have affected it I'm telling you, in my opinion, right? This was a prime time to go on strike. This was the prime time to squeeze them for some fair wages. What they did was they backed down. They said they made it tough and it was a fair deal, but none of those increases can come close to inflation. So by the time 3 years is up, the parks employees are going to be quite a step back.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. And so 3 years. 3 years is a long way to wait when you're actually behind the 8 ball, right?
Yeah, and then the next time they go, they're going to be even more afraid.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be making less money and they're going to be more in debt, and that is the problem with Canadians overall. So many of us are in debt, and once we get in debt, and we know that we can't sustain a walkout, we're afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's sad to see, Mike. Yeah.
A lot of deals coming from the falls, something to do with the bones.
Bones?
Bones?
Moans coming from the falls, something to do with the bones.
They say moaning coming from the falls. Okay, don't know. Don't know.
Anyway, so we're looking for a bumper year. Now, this is very, very confusing because if we listen to the city council and and everybody, and they want this gigantic Ferris wheel. Well, not our city hall, but the I don't know, Niagara Parks or the Ontario government wanted another Ferris wheel, a huge one.
No, it's not another Ferris wheel. It's a UFO, Dave.
Oh, okay. We can have one of them too. And so anyway, so they want this gigantic Ferris wheel, which nobody really is interested in. And their argument is, look, we got to boost things up. The tour season's really flat. It has been flat for 17 years, blah, 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 blah. And yet then you read an article like this that says it's going to be a bumper crop. And the parks has made X amount of money more than they did last time. And there's been X more tourists than there was before. And all this stuff about how much more tourists we've had lately and how much better it's been. So it's very, very confusing. Who are you going to believe? Yeah. One aspect says, look, we don't have enough tourists. Everything's flatlining. That's why the Ontario government wants some kind of Ferris wheel that will take you up into the stratosphere. and then before it turns around, comes back down.
Yeah. But you go, let's be honest about this, is tourism has been declining for many, many years here. You go up Lundy's Lane, it's
How
more
so?
it's more you go up Lundy's Lane, it's more of a local street nowadays than it is a tourist street.
Well, that's because of the city's infinite wisdom of concentrating all the hotels where they are close to the falls, which eviscerated the ones on Lundy's Lane.
Yeah. Well, that's another thought there, because a lot of the ones that are on Lundy's Lane have actually all basically, they're all disappearing. They're all becoming something else.
Look, it doesn't that doesn't reflect how much tourists are coming into town. Doesn't at all. All it means is the tourists are being diverted closer to the falls and to the bigger hotels in and around them, and to B&Bs too. But look, or bread and breakfasts. So the situation here is the tourism hasn't declined. It just hasn't grown huge. And the reason why it hasn't grown is probably as much capacity as it has. That's why the Ford government wants a lot more casinos. He wants a lot of little casinos here and there and everywhere. That's why they want some kind of attraction, like a gigantic
we have a lot more
stratospheric type Ferris wheel.
I think
you're going to have oxygen. You're going to, the kind of Ferris wheel they want, you're going to have an oxygen tank to get up there and keep conscious.
Well, actually, the thing about this is that I think another thing that has happened in relation to their decline, it's not a decline in tourism. What we've got is an increase in tourism, but they're coming for the day. They are now down here on the train for the day. They come in at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning.
So what evidence do you have of that? Like we don't have any evidence of that.
We do. I've seen a lot of people coming and going.
You've seen it, but where's it projected in the tourist numbers?
I don't know, but I've seen it. But I've seen it in person. You go to the train station. There's a lot of people coming for the first train in the morning. There's a lot of people leaving later in the afternoon.
Well, that's part of the tourist. That's part of what tourism wants to happen. They want every kind of visitor. They want the day visitor, and they want the rubber tire visitor, and they want the people that come and stay for a few days visitor. They want them all. A lot of people will not be able to afford to come into Niagara Falls. They can afford a train ticket to come down here, pedal around, or walk around, spend money on attractions and on buses and food, and then go home. If you didn't leave that option open to them, they wouldn't come. The other is you have people coming down here, whether it's a train or car or whatever.
I wasn't saying it was a bad thing. I wasn't saying it was a bad thing. It's just less people are staying nowadays.
I don't think so. I think it's just flatlined. I don't think it's less or more. I think it's just flatlined. That we were pretty much at the capacity of how many tourists we could take, which is an incredible amount.
Yeah.
But somehow they think they can make the tourism a larger and more a bigger thing. Now, we've lost marine land, so that's one of the reasons why they wanted to get the stratospheric Ferris wheel. I don't see how that will bring anybody in, but it might. I mean, seriously, if you dismantle the other one and put like a humungal, like the gigantic eye that's in London or something there, maybe that would do it. But look, we have no marine land anymore, so they're looking for some sort of attractions to bring in more. They said they haven't added for 17 years. They haven't added much to the stock of their hotel rooms, but basically they had overcapacity in the first place. They built all these big hotels down there by the falls, and that shut off all the hotels in Lundy's Lane. I mean, less and less of them take on tourists, which used to be the big deal. Basically, Lundy's Lane used to be where most of the tourists went, and then they came back. They turned around, went back down Lundy's Lane and into the Hucksterville of Clifton Hill, and went down to see the falls, etc.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We've got comments here. Here's Kenny. I myself last visited with friends in the falls. I took the GO train from Barrie to Niagara Falls. One thing that affects tourism is a lack of transit. That is improving, Kenny. That's beginning to improve. It's a slow process, but it has improved.
It has improved.
You can jump on the GO
we've got
train
more
and
options. We've got more options now, right? That's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if we had giant Ferris wheels that would that came up.
The Ferris wheel, they will come, says Rick.
I think we should have
it's in the
I think we
wrong
should have a
location.
giant Ferris wheel go down the railroad track. That would be like come to Niagara Falls and just roll down the railway track on a Ferris wheel. Start a trough and come down.
Oh my gosh. So is it one circle from the train as you go along the track?
That's right.
Yeah. One loop.
That's a mobile, Niagara Falls Ferris wheel get you there. Look, you can only do so much with hucksterism. You can, you're sort of the Coney Island type of, I don't know, what are they going to do? A freak show or UFC fight on Victoria Avenue?
Well, we've got plenty of Coney Island up and down Clifton Hill and around Victoria Avenue there.
Yeah, so we don't need any more. But we need is one thing we could do is like there's historical things here that can bring in people who are interested in history. There's geological things. I'm not sure they're focusing too much on them. You can have tours down for people who are interested in geology. There's all these little niche groups, niche areas for people if they want it. But I don't know. They want to increase the amount of people coming here. So their idea is to build a giant Ferris wheel and more casinos. I don't know if that's such a good idea.
That's all right. It's all right. So I'm going to open the Peters Casino on Lundy's Lane. Okay, it'll be the third casino on the left-hand side.
Well, I just might buy some used one-armed bandits and put them in my living room and invite tourists in.
Yeah, go for it, man. Okay. So, basically, will there be more tourists come? Don't know. I think the World Cup is kind of falling flat, and I think it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt Mexico as well as it's going to hurt Canada.
I don't know. I think in Mexico it'll be well because they have a very solid soccer fan base there. I think it's going to be fine. The international travel going to Mexico, I don't think that's a problem. Anyone who wants to watch matches in Mexico are going to get into Mexico. The problem, of course, is Canada and the United States. This will be an open door for certain people to come into Canada and the United States. That's why, like people from, like I think it was Ghana or something like that, had to have a return trip and some sort of traceability in order to come into the country and then make sure they go back out again. Plus sort of the uncertainty people are feeling, particularly in the United States. A lot of people are afraid they're going to get grabbed by ICE and thrown in jail. That's overstated. That ain't going to happen.
I think that's overstated.
That ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
You might have an incident here and there, but generally speaking, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, generally speaking, I can't see that happening. Not unless you happen to have a prior U.S. visa that you've run out on.
Look, the whole thing is a big lie anyway. Like most of the stuff the left weirded out about ICE and all that. Yeah, there was lots of problems with ICE. Don't get me wrong with that. But for the most part, you didn't have any problem going back and forth across the border.
Yeah.
Even Christiana Amanpour, who is a seasoned journalist, was afraid that she might get refused entry into the States and all that because of her political opinions or her journalism. In fact, that she was half Iranian. She was all stressed out about coming to the United States. When she came, there was no problem at all. She just walked right off like she normally would have any other time. Yeah. So it was all like a lot of that was all BS.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. And the most of the people who've got short-term passport, not passport, short-term visas, go back on the short-term visa anyway. There's always a small number who overstay their welcome. And let's be honest with them, that's no different whether it's the World Cup or just any other Monday. You're always
yeah,
going to get it, right?
yeah.
All right. Anything else? Okay, so should be good. Mastercard. Okay, good. My brother came to Niagara 11. First time, Paul's hotel, small room, windows, no names on the hotel, but he was not impressed. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
No, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. So Ontario is to reduce the screening age for colon cancer.
Yeah, this is a big thing. Well, actually, 1 week ago, I that's what happened to me. I went to the hospital to have a colonoscopy, and you know what they found? This will surprise everyone. I'm not as full of it as everyone thinks.
No, I'm not surprised there, Dave. I'm not surprised. I had every
Well,
confidence in that. Yeah, I had every confidence in that you were going to succeed, right?
of course, they didn't
I
put
mean,
any kind of scope into my brain. It was all down below. But anyway,
I mean, BS wins every time, doesn't it?
yeah. Well, yeah. Well, we can. Geez, look at the winds of BS coming from south of the border, and I don't mean just one side of the issue. It's every side of the issue down there. It's just lies and exaggeration. Hyperbole is where they start. Is hyperbole,
Yeah.
right? It's pretty hard to shake it down when the lowest level of description is already hyperbole, no matter what side of the issue you're on. Anyways,
Yeah. So what's the idea? So they're concentrating on a 42-year-old girl who's helping her two daughters get ready for their dance recital, and she thinks she might not been alive to enjoy these precious moments, but for her doctor screened her for colon cancer last year. Well,
yes,
actually, I'm wondering about that. Do we say 50? I wonder about that. Should we be pushing it down? It's it's been an issue that we know with older people. You've got an issue, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't start younger.
yes. All right. So this you can really save yourself you can save yourself a lot of problems. I had an aunt that this is an issue in our family. So I've had an uncle and aunt die of it. My father, they found polyps in him, so they were able to get them out. And he took advice from his aunt who died of it. His aunt was getting checked once every year, and then they said, "Oh, we're going to make it 5 years now because you haven't had anything showed." So they did it 5 years later, and then it was they found that they couldn't save her because it had taken off in that 5 years. So
Yeah.
she said to my dad, "Don't let them do that to you. Make sure you get it done every year."
Yeah.
You know? And
Oh,
he said, "Well,
absolutely.
move." Now I have it done every 5 year. Actually, it was 11 years the last time because I was I really messed up. But anyway, so I'm fine, no problem there. But the issue is if you have any kind of colitis, ileitis, Crohn's disease in your family, if you've had colon cancer people and anyone who's had colon cancer or any kind of polyps in your family, go and put pressure on your doctor to get early colonoscopy. Under the age of 40, you can get it done. If you've had a family history, if you have problems, if you start having blood in your stool and stuff like that, be very careful. Push the doctors on this. They'll dismiss it. Everybody's trying to save money and reduce money. I mean, seriously, they sent. I don't know. I won't go into it, but they're trying to save money, so they're trying to reduce things. And if you're not a hypochondriac and you've got a problem, you go see the doctor and ask for it.
Yeah.
And they can't refuse you if you insist. Insist it's a problem. So when you start getting them they reduce the age like from to 45 years old to 40 or something like that, or from 50 to 45,
50,
something like that.
50. It was 50, the age limit for it. I've been tested. Every time I've been tested, it's been negative. So,
Yeah.
But I'm fortunate I don't come from a family that has any history in cancer.
I think that the tube in your case went all the way up to the brain, looked around, saw nothing. So
Whoa, you're pushing it there, mate.
well, it's better than having impacted. You know what? Anyway, so anyway, all just aside here. This is very important. Is particularly if you're over 40, start becoming very aware and look at your family history. If you've had people with colon cancer, colitis, ileitis, or Crohn's disease, any kind of that situation, even diverticulitis, right? Make sure you have some sort of test done. A colonoscopy can save you a lot of misery, and in the future.
I don't know half the diseases you just spouted off there, but I suppose that's a good thing, because if you know them and you know that you're a risk from them, do what Dave says.
Yeah, definitely. And you don't want to mess around here. Now the colitis, ileitis, and Crohn's, they happen at any age, so be very aware of what's happening to your body. Right. I know a guy that had colitis and they missed it, and then they had to take out his entire half of his intestines. And he was the one that went to the doctor and says, I think I've got colitis. And the doctor just dismissed him. Right. Yeah. And he did have colitis. And he almost died of it.
Yeah. Doctors are too dismissive these days.
Yes. Well, that was many years ago. There was so.
No, but they have been for a while.
Yeah. So this is very good. This is something that everybody should really think of. Really, if you're having stomach issues of any kind, blood in your stool, and all kinds of other things like that, and then to have a good look, go to your doctor. This is something that's an early warning thing, because what they'll do is there'll be polyps in your intestines. Now, that polyps, those are the things that develop into cancer. Sometimes they are benign. They just stay there. They don't bother anything. But if you're going to get cancer, those are the polyps that are going to start. So if you clip out the polyps, and that's what they do. You go in and they clip out the polyps. And then you got no problem. They're never going to have that problem again. And the next time they look, they'll clip out any others that happen to be there.
Yeah.
If you have that done, then you're golden, right? So it's very important that you have it done.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for the batch of comments there. All right. Okay. So moving on. So there was a big walk with Israel in North York this weekend. 60,000 people.
I guess it's an annual thing. I think it says it's happened
It's been going for 57 years, apparently.
Well, you know what? I've never heard of it before, but that doesn't mean anything. So basically, Walk with Israel is a kind of an event that people walk to supposedly to sort of reinforce common values back and forth. The problem this year, of course, is those common values that we're supposed to be sharing with Israel are not so common. We don't subjugate members of our population, the people we put on reservations. We're trying to reverse that and trying to help, mitigate the harm that we've done there. The difference with us and Israel is making, as an apartheid state, that is making the people that live in the West Bank extremely uncomfortable. Any minute they want to do anything, they're crushing the people of Gaza. They're causing insurgencies. Remember, Israel was land taken from Palestinians who were forced off their land. The Nakba meeting was the biggest one. So if you live in the country of Israel itself, or an ethno-religious Jew, you're going to be fine. You're going to have a nice life. Among the people who live in Israel, there are 10% of them are Muslim Palestinians, and 10% of them are Christian Palestinians. So up to 20%. David Ben-Gurion said that we could tolerate 20% of foreigners, meaning the Palestinians that already live there, in their state. That is being disputed by people like Ben-Gvir and Smotrich and that, who want all the people who are not ethno-religious Jews out. So basically, it is a state it's an ethno-religious state designed for Jews only. You couldn't become a citizen there. It'd be pretty damn hard for you to become a citizen there. Although an Israeli can come here and be a citizen quite easily. So there's that difference. But the problem here is this is shared values. So normally, maybe originally, when they had a better democracy, when they first began, you could share the values. Israel and Canada share the values. And of course, I'm not saying that you don't go out to one of those but the problem here is this idea, the inferences that you keep hearing all the time, that anti-Semitism is growing in a huge amount. I haven't seen it myself, and I keep putting this out there. I don't see anybody more hateful towards Jews than any before. If anything, I've seen less and less of that throughout my life. What I do see is resistance to the Israeli state and what they're doing. What Bibi Netanyahu doing. So you have an apartheid state, an occupier state, and a warlike state, like they're bombing the crap out of Lebanon right now.
And the thing is, okay, so 6 people were arrested, but you shouldn't withdraw any inferences from that, because you got 60,000 people, 6 arrested is nothing.
Yeah, and it's all minor. There was no violent. Well, there was one guy who assaulted a police officer. He got pulled away.
Yeah, well, that's stupid.
Yeah, another guy had a drone. Another guy had a drone, and he got a ticket for having a drone. So he's probably had a drone taking pictures, basically. Obviously nowadays drones scare everybody. So he that was in conflict with the bylaw. I don't know. It's in there. It's you have to have a license or a certification to be able to fly drones. So he probably didn't have that, and he was probably charged with not having it. It's there, yeah.
Usually that's a bylaw offense.
No, not in this particular case, I don't think. I'm trying to figure out. Just go out of the way. Assaulted plea. A third arrest occurred at 11 a.m. Investigators saying a man was arrested operating a remotely piloted aircraft, the drone, and he was issued a ticket under the Canadian aviation regulations. Yes.
Yeah, it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, well, he's going to get the ticket. But there are regulations. You're supposed to get a certification in order to have a drone. If you have a drone and you want to fly it, you have to have a course. I don't know if it's free or not, but you got to have a course in order to do it. And there are regulations which you learn under that course. So they probably found that he wasn't he's probably just trying to take pictures, but of course, drones scare the crap out of everybody
You can
nowadays.
I can buy a drone for $100 at Staples.
$100.
Well, probably 200 nowadays. Used to be able to buy a drone for about $100 at Staples at one point.
Really?
Yeah.
With the cameras and all that in it?
Oh yeah, with cameras and everything. Yeah.
$100?
Yeah.
I thought they were
It
at
was
least $600
They were
nowadays.
surprisingly cheap at one point. I'm not saying they were reliable products. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying you could buy them for next to nothing.
Well, here's the problem that I see. Despite the arrest, there's only 6 arrests, and it looks like all
Yeah.
of them very, very minor.
Yeah.
Right? 60,000 people, like you say, 6 arrests. Despite the arrest, leftists said the walk with Israel was not divisive, underlining it is intended to celebrate shared values, including freedom and democracy. Well, yeah, that part of it we have shares, but you're not like Israel's not giving freedom and democracy to all the people that it occupies.
Yeah.
You're going to get freedom and democracy if you're an ethno-religious Jew living within Israel. Yeah, you'll get free, or on the West Bank or wherever else in Golan Heights. But what about Druze? What about Palestinians? What about Christian Palestinians? What, you see what I mean? We don't really have that.
Yeah.
We have some common values, but we are not an ethno-religious state. So we are not that way. We don't have restrictions on people who are not ethno-religiously Jewish. So, or any other, whatever. So we have some shared values, I would say, but overall, we're way ahead of them, developing our democracy against theirs.
Okay, flying drones near events, and this is an event, is illegal.
Okay, well, sure, because if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to hurt somebody, you know? And like I say, the panic about drones now, they take these little drones. I don't know if you've seen it. They've taken little drones, very inexpensive drones. They put a grenade on them, and they buzz around looking for Russians in the Ukraine war.
Yeah.
So these little drones are flying close to the surface of they go up and they see where sometimes they have a parent drone and sometimes they don't. So somebody goes up, some drone goes up, sees potential targets, and all these little ones are sent towards the targets. And they're just basically a tiny drone with a grenade. And as soon as they find some, and of course there's somebody watching, the drone is operating the drone remotely from a safe location, and they chase down soldiers one by one and explode the grenade. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they drop the grenades in trucks and all that. So basically, of course, people are going to be terrified of these things.
Mm. Well,
no kind of nuts going to put a grenade in a drone.
You can basically, you don't need a license to do one that's under 250 grams or a micro drone, but you do need to register your drone with Transport Canada if you buy one that's 250 grams to 25 kilograms. So that's the normal thing, but it's banned in use near events. So that's why it would have been a person would be ticketed.
Can you imagine having a 25 kilogram drone come down on you? That's 50 pounds, man. Or more than 50 pounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
It loses power and falls out of the sky. Something 250 grams, okay, not much, but that'll kill you.
Yeah.
25 kilograms.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, moving on. Anything else on that walk?
Nothing much, except that, I mean, it's been going on for 57 years. And if I had been, like, let's say if I had been in the habit of doing that before, I wouldn't have done it this year, for sure, because of Israel's behavior. And I wouldn't have. I would expect more from a democracy.
Please use drones all the time. Yes, I know. Everybody's using drones. Actually, one of the thoughts is that one person I know who's actually a house investor, they put up a drone up there. You know, you go look at a house, and one of the things you want to ensure yourself of, you know, is how good is the roof. You know, is the holes in the roof?
Yeah, you don't have to send a guy up there with a ladder to check it out.
Don't have to send a ladder up there. Flip the drone in the air. It's a 10-minute job. The drone's programmed to circle around the building. It circles and comes back.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah. But the fact of the matter is, we've had drones. Before COVID, we've had problems with drones, people spying on other people with drones. Now, of course, they are weaponized.
Wait, you haven't caught the one. You haven't caught the one that I've got up about above your apartment, have you? I've got one up there. Keeps an eye on you.
Oh yeah. Hi, Peter. Hi.
Not that one. Not that one. That's the one. That's the one. That's Gary Wilkins' one.
Gary's would have smashed in the window by now.
No, mine you can't see.
Okay, so where are we moving now?
Yeah,
we're pretty close to the end of the day.
Okay, so defunct government rebate program is being used to actually con people in door-to-door scamming attempts. This guy that is there was a legitimate home energy conservation fund program that was funded by the government of Canada many years ago that is no longer active program, and they've had these door-to-door knockers going around and actually trying to solicit sign-ups under this.
Yeah, now, it's an old program that's long been defunct. Yeah, of course they can recover all kinds of paperwork with official stamps and everything that looks good on it. They could get it right from the government sites, probably. You can go around with nice name tag on yourself and then talk as if you know what you're talking about, about these programs. And people have vague memories of, oh, yeah, there's some sort of program, this or that. And that's how they hook you.
Yeah. Thing is, you got to remember, is that door-to-door soliciting is no longer legal in Ontario.
That's a good thing, because what they were doing was walking right in the door. That's what, like, they did it twice to my mom. A good thing I was there both times, right? They just walk right in.
Yeah.
Like, they knock on the door, walk right in. They got a name tag. Well, I got to look at your furnace, blah, 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 blah. And my mother says, oh, no, you're not. Like, this is a rental, blah, blah, blah. They throw out a lot of words and they sound really firm. And you got this little old lady and they're trying to tell her stuff. Meanwhile, they don't see where I am. And then there's this gigantic expletive. Get the out of here, you scamming bastard.
Well, every once in a while, we put these ones up because we don't like to see people scammed. So the fact that they're using old government programs, and hey, those government programs have a purpose, have a use for a period of time, and but even there, it's, when you've got these government programs, you call them, not they call on you.
Yeah, basically, do not open your door. Everyone with grandparents or elderly parents, keep an eye on them. A lot of them lost their ability to be scrutinizing when they see a friendly face and someone talking to them nicely, and they're lonely half the time anyway. They might let them in just so they can have talk with them. I've known handymen that go around and volunteer their services to old people, and half the time they can't even get out the job they're supposed to be doing, because the old people won't let them start. They want to talk with them all the time, and just will not let them begin because they got lots and lots to talk about. They just want the company for the hour, and they have to come back at a later time and fix the thing they're supposed to fix. So old people are marked vulnerable just because of that. They're lonely. People don't talk to them, and they can be scammed. So if you have older grandparents or older aging parents, keep an eye on them. Make sure that they phone you or tell you if anyone's trying to sell them anything or have any kind of proposition of anything. This works. This works.
Yeah. And whilst this warning was for the North Bay area, it could be, usually your scammers hear about one person in another area and they start that same scam somewhere else.
Well, this guy was from Toronto and he went all the way up to North Bay to pull this off.
Yeah.
So he obviously thought, well, getting to a little bit more of a community that's not as aware of scams as much as the people in Hogtown are. You go door to door in Hogtown, they're going to throw you out right away. But you might go up to North Bay and start knocking on doors, and they're a little more relaxed, a little more friendly. Don't suspect it as much,
Yeah. But you see, there's been some pretty big scams up there, and some companies have basically reinstalled new furnaces and the like, and put you on the hook for thousands of dollars and even tens of thousands of dollars, overcharging that particular thing. And very often it's even big companies that are part and parcel of it.
Yeah.
So
anyway, just that's the whole point of putting up this article, is there's scams, all kinds of things. In this particular case, the scam reinvented a defunct government program that gave gave rebates on certain kind of environmental sound equipment or something like that. So I will say, have a great day to you too, Betty. Bye now. And Monday.
When did they stop that? I don't know, but I know that it's not been around for quite some time.
Yeah, these things come and go. The rebates and things like that on environmentally better equipment and so on. They did have the incentive program to buy electrical vehicles for a long time, and they've dropped that.
Yeah.
So a lot of these things are there to kickstart people into viewing certain things, or get people to begin to look and appear at environmentally sound equipment that would, or energy efficient equipment. Is another thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be environmental, but energy efficient. That means there's less draw. The government's interested in having less draw on their infrastructure. Less, they have to produce less power, so they want you to have equipment that uses less power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But anyway, I'll just say, as I always do, remember Gaza. We already talked about the Israel walk with Israel. That's I don't know. I wouldn't have done that this year. How can you walk with Israel when they really do not share our values?
Yeah.
They have democracy in name only. If they're apartheid state, they're ethno-religious state. I don't think they're so much a shared values. The democratic institutions are similar, right? The elections and all that are similar, but they are an occupying power and they are an apartheid state. So, and that goes for Gaza. Look what they've done to Gaza. They still aren't feeding the people there. Still haven't got enough medicine. Well, the kids are going to school, are they? They're shrinking the area in which they can live, and they've destroyed everything. And now they're at it in Beirut. In fact, the orange guy can't even get them to stop bombing Beirut so he can get ahead with his peace deal with Iran. So anyway, without further ado, I bid you adieu. Pray for peace.